Our next steps under this goal, we have a social emotional learning committee coming together, which will look at data and the data that's been generated by Challenge Success and perhaps other data that comes forward. But we want to continue to look like data such as, let's ask these people who pulled their kids out because of social emotional learning issues. Let's have conversations with them. We know who they are. We could reach out to them and find out. So there's a lot of data that needs to be looked at, and we believe this committee will be perfectly poised for it. Advisories. I talked about how we had the break when I was a kid here. We also had homeroom. Everyone had homeroom. I remember I sat with, he's from Dover, Bobby Keene, Peter Krause. I mean, these guys were all in my homeroom because we were the K's. And so, but I got to know those guys. And I wasn't in class with them very often, but I did get to know them. And I got to know that teacher, Mr. Kayaza, and because he wasn't grading me. It was just connecting. It was only 10 minutes or 5 or 7 minutes a day. But the state determined, yeah, that's a waste of time. We don't need that. It's a waste of time. Now, spin it forward 30 years and we're like, geez, what could we do to have our kids feel more connected with adults in the school who aren't grading them? You know, this is classic. So advisories are like a home run. Typically there are talking points because you have to pull it out of the kids, but they're heterogeneously grouped. So they're not grouped by level. Now, I read a great thing this year, this summer on Twitter. I don't know if anyone else saw it, but it basically said, I think I retweeted it. Basically, it said that they've done research that shows if you are forced to look into someone's eyes for, I can't remember how long it was. Minutes, definitely minutes, more than one, I believe. What was it? 4 minutes, that sounds right. You had to look into the person's eyes for 4 minutes. Talk about a staring contest. But what they found is that something happens when the eyes connect. Something about us as human beings happens, and it makes it really difficult to hurt that person. To say something mean against them, to hurt them. Just a simple thing that you could do in advisory. So advisories are in the strategic plan. They're on the list. Feel free to ask our principals how's it going, because we want them to do it, but I'm also not running the high school. You know, I'm not running the middle school. That's usually where you have them. And it comes at a cost of time. So it's a trade-off. The start time committee. So the start time committee, this is a big one, is actually, the members are in place, the meetings are being scheduled as I speak, or certainly we are mailing it out, I believe, tomorrow to actually, Cheryl's reaching out to people to set the actual dates. The start time committee is not going to be a committee this large. It's not practical. It's not effective. It's great if you want to make sure everybody gets heard. Thousands of people get heard, but we already know what the problem is. The research is clear, as he said. The research is clear. Just the same, a fairly streamlined committee is looking at the research that was done by the last committee. People felt as if the process was not completed. So I've committed to completing that process. We're going back to see what was done. We are looking at what other places are doing. We're looking at the survey data. We may do some more surveying. And our charge is to see if there are any possible options for us as a system that will work. Let's face it, most superintendents see this as the third rail. They don't want to touch it. Why? It's 50-50. Half the people are going to say, I don't want it. The other half are going to say, they're going to say, leave it alone, it's fine, don't mess with it. And the other half's going to say, this is killing kids, look at the research. So the goal is to see if there's anything out there that we can come up with that work for our kids. That's the goal. College search discussion. I know Challenge Success had a great presentation in Boston with Denise Pope and a guy named Rick Weisbord from Making Caring Common. And they did some research on what really does determine a kid's success in college. So is it getting into the Ivy League? Does it matter if you go to the state schools? And what they concluded was that it's about engagement. It's about engagement. When the kid gets to school, do they engage? My daughter is quiet, but she's loving Stonehill. But guess what her favorite thing about it is? It's actually not about Stonehill, but it's something that she really loves to do. She travels every week from Easton to Randolph to this cat shelter and works with these adults, with these homeless cats. And she gets something out of it. And she attributes it to Stonehill. Or she also goes to this assisted living place and works with elderly. And she gets something out of that. So she's engaged in being there. That's